Hey everyone, Azim here. We are starting chapter 27, the urinary system, also called the renal system. If you see the word urinary or renal or anything that starts with NEPHR, like nephros, that's referring to something about the urinary system or the kidneys. So I'll probably just call it the urinary system. You may know the urinary system is the thing that filters your blood. It is, and it does more, and we'll explore what that is. We'll explore the gross anatomy of the kidneys, urinary bladder, all the important histology, and how that relates to its function of filtering and doing more, as well as the circulation, the blood vessels that come in. We'll be tracing the path of blood from the aorta into the kidneys, how that blood gets filtered, and how it comes out. And we'll, of course, look at how urine is produced. We first form filtrate in the kidneys and then develop our urine. When we filter blood into our kidneys, the filtration works a lot like how we clean a fridge. When you clean a fridge, you take everything out first. You take everything out because you need to wipe everything down on the inside, and then you put back the things that you like this Kool-Aid or this cake, and you throw away the spoiled things. When we filter our blood using our kidneys, anything that's small enough to fit through a special fenestration, a pore, those fenestrated capillaries, anything that's small enough to get filtered out gets filtered out, including things that are good, like glucose, and things that we want to get rid of, like wastes. We then, from our kidney, take those good things and put them back into our blood. So we put it back in the fridge, so to speak. And then whatever we don't want to keep, we get rid of. Wastes, excess water, excess ions. So once again, the primary function of the urinary system is to filter blood of waste products, of excess water, excess ions. And in doing so, we can regulate blood volume because a lot of our fluid is in our blood. We can therefore regulate blood pressure because more volume means more pressure, less volume means less pressure. We can regulate pH. That's something we're not going to focus on too much here, but pH is a measure of hydrogen ion levels, and hydrogen ion is used for many different things. And other ion concentrations like sodium, potassium, calcium, chloride ions. These are all important ions for normal cell function. And we've seen, for instance, how sodium and calcium can be really important. We want to prevent the loss of valuable nutrients. I mentioned how glucose can get filtered, but we want to reabsorb that back. Water can get filtered. We want to reabsorb as much water as possible. So conservation of water will be really important. Conservation of calcium, or getting rid of excess calcium if we have excess calcium. On top of all of that, the urinary system, specifically the kidneys, serve as an endocrine gland. The kidneys produce calcitriol. Calcitriol is a hormone important for calcium absorption, so it works alongside with parathyroid hormone to help maximize calcium absorption, raise calcium ion levels in the blood. It also produces erythropoietin. You might know this as EPO, which can be used for blood doping, something that some endurance athletes do, which is illegal, but some do it. It's to help promote red blood cell production. So you're promoting production, that's what poietin refers to, production of erythrocytes, erythropoietin. So this hormone, what does it target? It targets your red bone marrow. And I should have mentioned, if we're going to target calcium absorption, we're targeting the small intestines. So as you can see, the urinary system is complex. It's not just for filtration. It's also for regulating levels of water, regulating levels of ions, and producing important hormones. There's a nice limited set of organs here in the urinary tract, in the urinary system. We can see that kidneys are the start of it. Kidneys are a retroperitoneal organ. They're the ones that produce urine. They do that by taking blood that's coming into the kidney. You can see the aorta here. And the aorta branches to a renal artery. So we're delivering blood to the kidneys. We filter the blood, and then whatever blood is left comes back through renal veins. Into the inferior vena cava. The inferior vena cava and aorta are both retroperitoneal, just like the kidneys, just like the adrenal gland, which you can see on top here. All these organs are retroperitoneal, behind the peritoneal cavity, still in the abdominal pelvic cavity. Once urine is produced, it then goes down the ureter. The ureter are these long tubes that are also muscular because we want to push the urine down. We push it down to the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder stores urine until we have developed enough that we can urinate it out. I want you to say the full name, urinary bladder, because we also have a gallbladder. The word bladder just means a storage sac. So specifically, the urinary bladder stores urine. And then we eliminate urine out the urethra. We all have urethras, males, females, intersex. The term for urination is micturition. That's the reflex for eliminating urine. Kidneys, as I mentioned, can be found retroperitoneally. In these diagrams and photo we have on the right side, this is from a cadaver on the top right, illustration of the same thing on the bottom. This way is anterior, this way is posterior. We know that because we can see a vertebral body right here, and the spinous process. We can see a spinal cord in the center. That's posterior side, and then on the anterior side, anterior left, anterior left, we have the stomach, we have the spleen on the far left, upper left quadrant, left hypochondriac region, and then a bit of the kidney, specifically the left kidney. There's not much protecting the kidney. It's very vulnerable. So we have to do something to protect it. We have immediately surrounding the kidney a fibrous capsule, and this capsule is made of reticular connective tissue. Provides a framework for all the cells that are in the kidney and the structures in the kidney. We'll talk about nephrons. We have perinephric fat. Perinephric fat protects and cushions the kidney. It's one of the few things that we have. We have perinephric fat protecting the kidney. It provides cushion. And then surrounding that, we have renal fascia. Renal fascia kind of is like a sling to hold and support the kidney, kind of suspend it, secure it to the abdominal cavity. We additionally have subcutaneous fat. That's an additional thing that can protect. You might be familiar with this as your love handles, the fat that develops on the lower left and lower right parts of your back. Additional cushion. One reason why, for instance, in boxing, if you're familiar with boxing, boxers wear their shorts pretty high and the shorts are pretty big, and you're not supposed to punch below the belt. Punching below the belt is a dirty move because you can damage your kidneys. If someone gives you a hook to your side, to your back, that can really hurt your kidneys. So in short, kidneys, retroperitoneal, pretty exposed. We have to take care to not damage them. The kidneys are arranged into the cortex and the medulla. We've seen that type of arrangement before. The brain has a cortex and a medulla. The adrenal gland is a cortex and a medulla. Cortex and medulla just means outer portion and inner portion. The renal cortex appears lighter. You can see this in the cadaver picture on the right side. It's this portion here. That's the renal cortex. The medulla is at most things to the center, so it's roughly everything here, but it's actually a little more nuanced than that. There are two different portions of the renal medulla. The darker parts that are shaped like little triangles, these are the renal pyramids. So here they are in the illustration. Here you can see some on the actual cadaver kidney. Renal pyramids, in between them are renal columns. So where I'm outlining in green, these are renal columns. Now, what's the difference? Renal columns are a bit lighter, renal pyramids are a bit darker. Renal columns hold blood vessels so that if you have a blood vessel coming in, we deliver blood to the renal cortex. Renal columns are where blood vessels enter and exit. Renal pyramids contain tubes. Renal pyramids contain tubes of the nephrons. We'll explain what nephrons are, but nephrons produce urine and help drain urine. And that urine will drain this way. Can you see my yellow? Urine will drain at the tips of the pyramids. The tips of the pyramids are called renal papillae. We've seen that word before. A papilla is a bump. We have dermal papillae, we have lingual papillae, bumps. So these renal papillae are these bumps that exit the kidney. So this center portion here is not technically part of the kidney. It's within the framework of the kidney, but they're separate structures that are draining out of the kidney. So let's take a closer look at those structures that drain out of the kidney once you form your urine. From the renal papillae, if you can see my, let me change colors here. Let's use dark or green, let's use green. From the renal papillae, the first structures here, these are called minor calyces, minor calyx, singular. You can see this in a three-dimensional drawing here. These are all minor calyces. And then in this cadaver picture, these smaller branches are minor calyces. A minor calyx drains to a major calyx. I'll draw that in pink. We have three here on this picture, a few here. These bigger structures here. That's a major calyx. Major calyx drains to a single renal pelvis. The word pelvis just means something bowl-shaped where you can collect something. So all the urine drains to a renal pelvis. And then we drain out of the kidney to the ureter. Ureter drains to the urinary bladder, not shown here. What all of these have in common is that they're lined with transitional epithelium. You can see this transitional epithelium in this ureter picture. Transitional epithelium has squamous, columnar, cuboidal cells in no particular order, and the layering is irregular so that it can stretch out. It can stretch out to accommodate for the urine that's passing through. We can also find smooth muscle lining the ureter. We still have those same layers. You have mucosa, adventitia on the very outside because the ureter is a retroperitoneal organ. It's not serosa. But then you have smooth muscle lining the ureter so that you can squeeze using peristaltic motion, peristaltic contraction, squeeze the urine forward down to the urinary bladder. Filtration of blood occurs at nephrons. I mentioned that word a minute ago. Nephrons are tubes. There's a lot of these tubes in your kidney, millions and millions of tubes. I'm sure someone's estimated how many, but I'll take a look at this small picture here. We're looking at one kidney and we're zooming in here to this inset. So this portion of the kidney. You've got your cortex on the outside. Excuse me, you've got your capsule. This is capsule. And then you've got your cortex. And then you've got your medulla. So this is showing one pyramid of the medulla. Nephrons span both cortex and medulla. So if you can see where I'm drawing in black, there's a beginning of the nephron. It does a bunch of twisting, comes down, whoops, comes down, comes back up, and then exits the renal pyramid this way. Looking at a zoomed in version over here on the right side, I'll once again trace this in black. Here's the beginning of the nephron. It's a tube that's containing filtrate. It twists a lot, comes down into the medulla, comes back up into the cortex, twists some more, and then goes back down into the medulla, out the renal papilla. The whole purpose of a nephron is to filter blood and then to reabsorb. Let me write all this down. We want to filter blood, so take out wastes, but also nutrients and water. We want to reabsorb nutrients and water. We'll also see that we can secrete. We can have targeted secretion of specific wastes. And then whatever's left will excrete urine. So there are four major functions of the nephrons: filter blood, reabsorb nutrients and water, targeted secretion of wastes, and excrete urine. So in order for blood to come in towards this nephron, to every single nephron, we need blood to come in through the abdominal aorta, enter the kidney through renal arteries. We'll branch to something called afferent arterioles. You can see in this picture over here on the right side, an afferent arteriole is coming in. We branch to something called glomerular capillaries. Glomerular capillaries, or just glomerulus, is this ball-shaped set of capillaries. Let me draw it over here on the side. Got our afferent arteriole, capillaries. We've mentioned this glomerular capillaries before because they're fenestrated when we talk about capillaries. This is an example where we can find fenestrated capillaries. By having those small pores in the endothelium, you can filter stuff out. So anything that's small enough to fit through that filtration hole, that's what gets filtered: wastes, glucose, whatever. And then what exits is an efferent arteriole. Note how we've gone from afferent arteriole to capillaries to efferent arteriole. Arteriole, capillaries, arteriole, and then capillaries again. We'll talk about what these second set of capillaries are, but because we have this sequence, capillaries, arterioles, capillaries, arterioles, wait, how did I say it? Arterioles, capillaries, arterioles, capillaries. There we go. This is an example of a portal system. This is a renal portal system. Every portal system is unique. We saw a portal system in the hypothalamus to regulate hormonal control. We saw a portal system in the digestive system in the liver so that we can store nutrients and take out toxins. Here we need a portal system for filtration and reabsorption and secretion. These three important things, or there we go, three important things that occur. That's what we're going to talk about in the next video. We're going to go step by step in what happens in each part of the nephron, how we filter, reabsorb, have targeted secretion and excretion, and all the different types of epithelium that we find along the way. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Please let me know if you have any questions. Take care.